Good evening, everyone. Today we're talking about goal setting and vision boards and all the stuff that you want getting ready for Lunar New Year. If you are about to celebrate, or maybe you just after the first of the year, you didn't get a chance to celebrate with your goals or put your goals in a book or start talking about them or thinking about them, now is the time. It's not too late. Don't think that time has passed you by. You can do it, and you can do it today. So today we're going to be talking about goal setting and all the things, and specifically some essential oils and blends that you may have never combined before. And I have to tell you, as I was doing the research for this presentation, I was thinking, wow, I don't know if I've ever put these together before. There is new research that has come out. There are new ways of putting blends together, and I guess our goal today is kind of to shake things up. If you had a blanket and you were going to you had some crumbs on it, or maybe a tablecloth and you had some crumbs on it and you need to just shake it out, you take the edge and go like this, and that's what we're going to do today. So actually, over the weekend, I hosted an elite retreat here. It was second Spanish elite retreat. And we're going to be hosting English elite retreats, which are basically groups of people who get together and talk about doTERRA and business and why not. And if you'd like to host one, or you'd like me to join yours because you're hosting one, I'd be happy to do that, whether I join virtually. Sometimes I can join live, depending how close or how far it is. But if that's something that you're interested, please let me know. Send me drop me a DM down below, or send me a direct message through any of my other social media platforms. I'd be happy to make that work. So in the new year, if that's something that you're interested in, goal setting specifically, but really all the things having to do with doTERRA, I'd love to get together with you and your team. So today I'm a little bit more dressed up. I want to get ready for the new year. Next Monday, I promise to be wearing my red or my gold or whatever it is, because that's going to be my wishing you all a happy Lunar New Year. But today is kind of the get ready, right? This is the cleaning of the house. This is the spring cleaning. This is I'm going to be ready to do this the minute I launch my new year. So let's try to share some of the slides. And for those of you that are on, and thank you for everyone who's saying hi in the chat. If you haven't said hi already, I'd love for you to say hi. I see a couple more people hopping on. Let me share my screen with you. Want to make sure that we're able to see. Here we go. I think you can see it now. Let me hit play. We are in the end of the year. The end of January. It's so crazy. And the beginning of a new year. Now, when I do my vision boarding, or I do my calendar, and many of you know that the calendar that I use is the full focus planner. I'm kind of holding it up here. I hope you can see it pretty well. When I do my planning, I do a quarterly plan. I find that a quarterly plan works better for me because it keeps me on track. And I'm always working in those kind of 12-week increments. It helps me to really focus on where I am going in my year, to adjust, to self-correct if I'm not on the right path, and then to keep going if I am doing the right thing. Some of my goals are longer term, some of them are shorter term, and I may even have a goal like, I don't know, increasing social media presence, or producing more content for you so that you'll be able to see it. And what I'll do is I'll break that down into 4 quarters during the year, whether it's a certain amount on a certain platform, or whether it's thinking things out. We always want to be thinking ahead, right? I think during COVID, many of us got out of the habit of planning because it seemed like we never could plan. Everything was always up in the air all the time. Well, right now, I think we're on a steady course. And at the very least, going into now, I know this sounds crazy, we're going into our 3rd year of this amazing, I don't know, new reality. We're beginning to see, okay, this is something new. I'm going to have to deal with this. I can't put things on hold any longer. I'm here, and it looks like this is here at least to stay for the time being, and I have to keep living my life. I can't just shut myself into a closet or into a corner and say I'm never going to come out again. So that's why goal setting and planning is so important, and today is really the day. Okay, so for those of you who have done a vision board before, I know you've all done goal setting, or maybe you've had a, I don't know, you've done resolutions, right? Many people do resolutions. The thing that I don't love about resolutions is that they are usually fairly vague. Okay, so let's first of all mention that the presentation or the ideas expressed in today's presentation have to do or are going to be about the oils part, right? The oil part is primarily from this book, but of course the goal setting is from something else, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Where today is our vision board party, if you will. If you are in the habit of hosting parties, or you're able to host parties, today is no different. We're going to be talking a little bit about what you can do with your team if your team is local, or maybe you want to do something like this on Zoom, and then we're going to also do some recommendations for essential oils. So welcome to everybody who's here for the first time. If you're brand new, please let me know in the chat. I really want to make sure that I say hi. If you've done a vision board in the past, or you've done goal setting in the past, maybe you've done goal setting or vision boarding with me, because some of you have. I always used to take a trip to Asia. I usually take one at the end of the year, sort of in the fall, maybe September or so, and then later in the fall in November, and then in February. I remember being in Singapore and some other Southeast Asian countries always right before Chinese New Year. I'm seeing all the beautiful decorations and the red clothing in the stores, and it just always made me feel wonderful. I was so happy to be there, just very festive. So welcome, welcome. If you've done this before, let me know in the chat. You're a little quiet in the chat, folks. I want to really hear from you. The power of visualization. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Now, we know when we talk about goals, we want to talk about smarter goals. That's the difference between a goal and a resolution, right? A resolution is kind of a wish or a want and isn't specific enough. So when we talk about goal setting, we always want to talk about being specific, making sure that our goals are smarter, and that's an acronym. Everything from time tested or time bound, right, to making sure that they are specific to our life, specific to a certain time frame, and that they are realistic, and writing each one of those things out. And I'm going to show you from my book directly how goal setting can work for you. And if you're interested in either purchasing a book like this or using a book like that you may already have, you may have already purchased a book for yourself for the year, how you can incorporate some of these tips as we go forward. But we're talking about the power of visualization. It is a really powerful mind exercise. And I think some of us have gotten out of the habit of some of those mind exercises. I recently read a book by a man named Jim Quick that's called Limitless. And one of the things that Limitless talks about is training our mind. And maybe we've gotten out of the habit of training our mind, but it is a wonderful practice. There is something called the law of attraction. I don't want to get too woo-woo or spiritual on you right now, especially not for things like this, because it can be a little bit controversial. We're not trying to talk about anything that's too far out there. We're really going to bring it back, but being able to focus on whatever it is that we'd like to attract into our life. That's the idea really of goal setting. If we don't have a vision for what it is that we need, we may focus on negative, on doom and gloom. You kind of remain under that cloud. I know many of you have suffered under extreme privations over the last many, many months. If you focus on positive thoughts and your goals and what you aim to achieve, you are going to find a way to achieve them. I found that during COVID, one of the things that I kind of let slide was writing in my goal setting notebook on a daily basis. I would kind of pick it up and then drop it and pick it up and then drop it. What's interesting is I had been a dedicated goal setter and I think motivator and planner for really my whole life. And just that whole sense of, I don't know, when is this going to be happening? What's going on? I think put me in the frame of mind that, well, maybe I don't need to do it. Now I feel like I really do. Okay, so here's our first 3 recommendations. And these are my first three favorite products for goal setting and focus, and I'd like to recommend that you use these together. So these are from left to right: Thinker, InTune, and Motivate. Some of the things that are in here you may have as single essential oils, but I'd like to suggest to you that the combination of these three is really going to be something that helps you to focus and to get back on track. So when we talk about Thinker, we're talking about vetiver, peppermint, clementine, and rosemary. Now, we know rosemary is wonderful for memory. Peppermint is great for the focus and for giving us kind of that alertness. And whenever we're talking about mints and fruits, or specifically citrus fruits, right? The peel of citrus fruits, we really are getting that 1-2 punch that kind of wakes us up and puts us in the right frame of mind. When we're talking about InTune, we're talking about things like frankincense, lime, ylang-ylang, sandalwood, and Roman chamomile. It's kind of a rich, heady blend. Some people love it. Some people don't love InTune at all, but I would suggest blended with these other two, you're really going to find, I think, a good match, a happy medium. And then finally, yuzu, melissa, and vanilla in your Motivate. Again, you're getting that citrus and melissa, which is a wonderful blend. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Motivate, we also have peppermint essential oil. That's going to be your kind of 1-2 of getting yourself on track and remotivated. The other thing that I love about Thinker and Motivate is that they're bright colors, cheerful, that sense of oranges, and just starting the new year. I think it's a really good 3 wonderful blends that I want you to consider using them together. Now, you may have used one or more of these blends. Let me know in the chat if you've used them already. Also, let me know if you haven't used them at all. And if you've used them together, I'm impressed, I have to say, because I haven't used them together. I just started as I was doing the research for this presentation. We are talking a little bit. Oh, Jessica says to tell us that her elder daughter uses Motivate, which is her favorite, and her youngest girl uses Thinker daily. And yeah, we tend to think of those blends or roll-ons with the white tops as for kids only, but I'm here to say that they really can be used at all ages, and you should consider incorporating them into your daily lifestyle and using them in conjunction with other blends. Okay, so let's keep going. Once you make a decision, the universe or conspires to make it happen. It's interesting that Ralph Waldo Emerson said this, not some new age guru, not someone who just kind of, I don't know, fell out of a tree. This is, for those of you who don't know, Ralph Waldo Emerson was an author and a poet. And interesting how he thought that by projecting forward, making that decision, and I know that many of us have decision fatigue, and that's something we're going to talk about today. I think that the blends that you're going to see are going to help you with relieving that anxiety, that stress of what it feels like to make decisions. So can you think of an instance when this was true for you? I know for me, about 2 years ago, right before COVID, I made the decision to go through some training, some professional training, and it really did help me. It helped to codify my thoughts, put me on a good path. And I have to say, I feel very grateful that I did that training before COVID started, because it helped me to get through each and every day as COVID was going on. Think about a time maybe when you had a bad day, right? All you can think about was how horrible and just bad everything was all day long. And even a regular occurrence could seem like a terrible tragedy to you on that very bad day. There's even a book out, I think, for children that's called Alexander's Very Bad Horrible Day, and how everything that happens to him seems to be terrible. But a lot of what happens to us when we're feeling out of sorts or angry or depressed or just this is a bad day for me, can be issues of our mood suddenly seeming overwhelming. So it's not a normal day for us. It's our way of projecting this is not the best day. So I think Ralph Waldo Emerson would probably say that things seem worse because we're making the decision to see those things as bad. Now, there's a lot to be said for recentering ourselves, especially if we are going through an extended, difficult period. And I'm not minimizing anyone who has seen severe tragedy or sadness. What I am saying is on a daily basis, we can begin to see things like something that spills or something that breaks as just a harbinger of a terrible day. And it's really not so. Got to bend a little bit and then get flexible and go on to the next thing. Oprah Winfrey, many of you know who she is, says you don't become what you want, you become what you believe. And you can accept the idea of negative thoughts and create negative energy, but it's basically a leap to entertain the idea that positive thinking can create positive energy, and our attitudes and our beliefs create a magnet to attract people and things to us. I know myself, I remember years ago, I don't know if I've ever told the story. I went to an event and there must have been 100 people at the event, and they asked who in general tends to be a negative person. Okay, everybody go sit on this side of the room. And then who in general tends to be a positive person, and then go sit on this the other side. And I don't know if they said negative and positive, they said maybe said lucky and unlucky. I think that was actually the term that the speaker was using. So I went to sit on the lucky side because I have to say, I feel like I have been very lucky throughout my life. And they chose me, of course, because I was sitting right in the front row, and another gentleman who was sitting on the unlucky side. And they asked the unlucky gentleman, why do you consider yourself unlucky? He said, oh, well, I never win anything, I never this and that. And he had a long list of reasons why he was unlucky. And I want to say at that time, we were about the same age. So we were probably in our mid-30s. And then I stood up and he said to me, why do you consider yourself lucky? And I said, everywhere I go, good things happen to me. And I've had so much, great success in my life. And even when I go to raffles and things, I win raffles and prizes. And I've just had a very lucky life. Was it really a big difference? Maybe, maybe not, but I think a lot of it had to do with attitude and focus. What are the things, what are the joyful things that you've been able to experience in your life? And I realize everybody has a different personality type. And you may be listening to this and thinking, oh, what a Pollyanna. So Pollyanna is someone who always looks on the bright side of things. And yeah, you could say that about me. I am one of those people who tends to look on the bright side. Okay, so now we want to talk about shaping the life that you want. And this is where goal setting comes in, right? We're creating a vision board as a tool that helps you to narrow down your greatest dreams and present them in a way that consistently reminds you of your life goals. And now a vision board can be one of those, as you've seen many times, a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard where you're cutting out different sorts of photo elements and then putting them in a place, a visual reminder of what it is that you're striving for, but can equally be something like this, a planner where you're going to write down your annual goals. And then you're going to talk about why you want these annual goals. Anything that's going to help you to continuously regroup and refocus on what it is you want out of your life is going to be the thing that works for you. Okay, so next on the hit parade is a trio that I also like very much. This is Balance, Steady, and Vetiver. Now, you may be saying, ooh, Vetiver, I'm not so sure. How can I wear that? I have to say the combination of Vetiver and Balance with the Steady are a great 1, 2, 3 punch, if you will. So Balance includes things like spruce, Howood, blue tansy, blue chamomile, and osmanthus. So it has that kind of rich, woody, but also a little bit floral smell to it. It is blended with fractionated coconut oil, so it's going to be very smooth on the skin, which is why it's terrific with Vetiver. And Steady includes balsam fir, coriander, and magnolia. So again, we're getting woody and we're getting floral. And then if we add in our Vetiver, we know that Vetiver can be a base note, very lingering. It stays with us a long time. That's why those three in combination are really wonderful. Have you used this? Is this something that you might consider? Let me know in the chat. I haven't heard from many of you. I don't know if you have put these three together. I know before researching this particular presentation, I had not, but I think that this is a good, a really good combination. Okay, so vision boards and the power of choice. So what does a vision board or group of goals force you to do? It forces you to consider and examine your dreams and become a vision-driven leader, lead a vision-driven life. So your goals, your dreams, your desires, you're creating a focus around the most important ones, which is why I want you to write down or put on that vision board probably no more than 10. Now, having done vision boards over the years, and I remember when I first started in dōTERRA doing the vision board and putting all different sorts of things on it, many of those things actually have been realized for me, and that's been a great, great blessing. I also wanted to tell you that I have no magic wand, and I don't sit in my corner and just meditate on these things on my vision board or even on my goals. It actually takes hard work, but the combination of the vision board and the list helps to codify my thoughts and point me in the right direction. So the process of choosing what to put on your board is, I would say, a fairly simple one, yet extremely meaningful. And once you've identified your wishes or your desires, you got to find images that represent them and then be able to be more specific, as really as specific as possible. So let's take a minute. I want you to ask yourself, so you're right now, you're kind of discerning your intentions. What is it that you want? What is it that you need? And what is it that you value? And how do you want to feel when those things are your reality? So when you have achieved those things, what's the reality of achieving them? Now, I know with some of my goals, it's felt like, I don't know, like an explosion, say achieving a rank in dōTERRA or being able to take some sort of an amazing trip. Those things are just super satisfying, and we just feel usually an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. However, there can sometimes be that, I don't know, even a sense of letdown, or sometimes even a sense of, did I really achieve that? It's almost like it's not real. But being able to look at the vision board or look at the list of goals and say, I did it, brings it back to reality, grounds us in that sense of achievement. And each and every time we achieve something and we check it off, we actually build that muscle. I think part of the muscle that we're building is the muscle of, I know how to break down a goal into steps, and I know how to put these things into action. So Jessica says she uses balances every day, and that vision boards are fire. She actually says they are 100. And yes, I love vision boards. If you've done a vision board in the past, please let me know in the chat. I'm not hearing that much from you today. Maybe that you're a little bit, you're thinking, why isn't Elena talking about sustainability? And if you've been checking the chat, you know that there was a mix up. Usually I would be talking about things in order, but this week, because I had taken a week off, I kind of skipped and then the announcement went out. So we're talking about vision boards and goal setting today. And I think that's really a good one. Okay, next on the hit parade, you want to visualization. What's the mechanics of it, right? Visualization and the brain. So our brain is an amazing and complex machine that's geared toward making us successful with every action we take. We can imagine ourselves actually completing activity, preparing for an activity, doing the activity, and that process sends signals to the rest of the body to complete the action. Now, we know that athletes, professional athletes, very often use visualization. They see themselves running the race. They'll close their eyes and visualize running the race, getting through it, crossing that finish lines, feeling the victory. What are their muscles like? Even their best performances. What did it feel like in the past, and what is it going to feel like in the future? Visualization is a powerful tool. So consider what happens when you're anxious about something. You're visualizing the worst case scenario, that kind of doomsday, and it makes your whole body feel awful. Same thing is true when we visualize something positive. I want to visualize that positive thing and begin to feel those emotions, what it is, what we'd be celebrating, what kind of dreams and goals could make us feel that, I don't know, that wonderful tingly feeling that we feel when something good and fun has happened to us. Okay, so here's my next 1-2 combo. Now, Some of you may have these sprays, some of you may not have these sprays, but I'm here to suggest that you can probably make these sprays for yourself at home. Even if you don't have them, you can blend these two oils in your diffuser. You can take Serenity and Adaptive and blend them in your diffuser, a water-based diffuser, which is going to have the same concept as using a spray. If you're able to make sprays at home, and I think most of us can, you can add water to about 10 to 15 drops and then add some sort of an emulsifier, whether it's a few grains of salt or a little bit of alcohol, shake it up well, and then spray it in your environment. But the two sprays together, I think, can be really wonderful. Serenity or Lavender Peace in many parts of Southeast Asia, and Adaptive have similar ingredients, but not exactly the same. Serenity has that way of decreasing stress, of helping us to wind down at the end of the day. And Adaptive has that way of keeping us lively enough that we can continue our feelings during the day, and also reducing those feelings of anxiety and stress that we have. So I like to use these two together, whether you're spraying them in your air, maybe you want to use them in your bedroom to kind of set the mood before you get into bed at night, or you want to use them in your diffuser. Either way is good, but I like this combination. And I'm stressing blends here. Who knows why I'm stressing blends? Yes, I'm drinking cold coffee. I admit I came down really fast this morning. I didn't want to be late and I didn't want to reheat, and the coffee was cold, so I just threw ice in it. I don't know, I'm sorry. Tell me how many of you use these two together, and if you're using them in a diffuser, have you blended them? Why am I talking about blends so much? Let me know in the chat if you know. I think a couple of you do, but I want to make sure that I'm getting across why it's super important for us to use blends and not always single oils. I think sometimes it's easier, especially if we're teaching, to teach about single oils, but I want you to teach about blends. I'm going to give you a second. Tell me in the chat. If you're not sure, you're thinking, I don't know, what does Elena talking about? Why are we talking about blends so much? Anyone? Blends give us, Anna says blends give us the best of both worlds. Yes. Mary says that she uses Adaptive, and Sharon says Serenity makes me so relaxed. Anything else about blends? Any of my leaders want to tell me? More economical? Good guess, Adeline. That's a really great guess. Anyone else have a suggestion about why we want to talk about blends, specifically with doTERRA? Anyone else? I'm going to wait for one more person to kind of jump in the chat and tell me why blends instead of singles. What makes blends so important? Actually, there's two reasons that I can think of specifically. More effective to combine, easy to use, blends have a better mixture. All great guesses, but the things that I'm thinking haven't come out in the chat. So I'm just going to tell you, there's two big reasons why we want to use blends. Number one is blends are made in a laboratory. They're made in a laboratory, and they are molecularly weighed every single time. That just means that when we choose a pre-made blend from doTERRA, we are getting the same thing every single solitary time that we choose it. Now, I know many of you make your own blends at home. You put 2 drops of this or 3 drops of that, but admit, sometimes we go to put 2 drops and we get 3 drops, or we want 2 and we only get 1. It's not an exact science. Now, if you want the same, you want to elicit the same response, the same physical effects, each and every time, you want to choose a blend. A blend is something that never fails. So if you're looking for a respiratory blend, you want to choose AirX or Breathe. If you're looking for a digestive blend, you want to choose Digest Zen. If you're looking for blends that are going to help you with de-stressing, you want to choose things like Lavender Peace, Serenity, Adaptive. Those are all things that are pre-mixed and always going to be the same. So that's why blends are so super important. The other reason I want to suggest blends to you, if you are building a doTERRA business, the reason blends are so special is that they are completely unique to doTERRA. Now, I know we talk about the quality conversation comes up all the time when we're talking about doTERRA, how wonderful a company it is, how much we test, that we make sure that there's no adulteration, nothing added or taken away. But many consumers don't know or don't care or haven't heard that conversation or aren't really listening when we're talking. But if we're offering them a unique blend that only comes to doTERRA, they need to come to doTERRA to get it. And that's the important thing. So if you're talking about blends, when you're talking to your clients, you're talking to new customers, they can only get that blend from one place, and that one place is doTERRA. So talk about blends, become familiar with the doTERRA blends, and suggest them as much as you possibly can. So today, most of what I suggested to you were blends, and I want to make sure that as you're going forward into the new year, you're talking about blends, blends, and blends. Don't just get hung up on singles. I know you love your singles, folks. I know you make your own blends, but use the pre-made blends from doTERRA. They really are special, and there's a reason why we want to suggest them. Okay, let's talk about go back to our vision boards again. Your vision board should focus on feelings, not just on material things. Now, I know it's interesting to put on there a fancy computer or a trip or some other sort of, I don't know, gewgaw or special gift that you want to get. For ladies, it might be a certain piece of a purse or a piece of jewelry, or for gentlemen, it might be a piece of equipment or something really cool, some kind of new toy, a camera. But those, we don't want to only think about physical things, right? Because usually the process by which you save the money to get that thing can elicit a different sort of response. And if we don't keep that in mind, we want to make sure that the feelings are really prominent. What am I going to do when I get that camera? Am I going to be able to take pictures of my family or my friends, or am I going to use it in my business? What are the things that are really going to happen for me? How's my life going to change with that new thing, whatever that thing is? So while it's great to put up pictures of dream cities or dream homes or other material possessions, it's equally as important to focus on the feelings. So if you love, I don't know, let's say you want to go to Euro Disney or Disney Singapore, and all the things that's related provide you a sense of joy and happiness. Putting a picture of Mickey on your board can remind you to keep looking for that same spark of joy in other areas of your life. A photo from a family vacation, however, can trigger those warm, happy, secure, positive feelings and that positive energy. So one person, one place, what memory is going to bring you joy? Those are the types of things that you want to put on there, those eliciting those feelings, right? Now, and when I use this particular book, one of the things that it does tell me is I provide a list of annual goals, and then there is goal detail in the back on the following pages. So I'll put up a summary, which is what is my goal? When am I expecting to achieve that goal? And then my key motivations. Why do I want? What are my key motivations for wanting to achieve this goal in the first place? And then what are my next steps for this goal? Now, next steps can be tiny or they can be big. If I'm trying to plan some sort of a big trip, my next step might be investigating, I don't know, a travel agent, or investigating plane tickets, whatever it is, looking at the cost, how much would it cost, trying to set up a budget for myself. And then finally, if I'm able to achieve that particular goal, what's my reward? Now, sometimes the goal is a reward in itself. Usually a trip would be something that getting to the trip would be a reward in itself. But maybe the goal is a little bit more work related, right? So if I were able to, I don't know, achieve a rank in doTERRA, or be able to enroll a certain person or enroll a certain number of people, what would be the reward that I would want to have for myself? Now, many people will tell me, oh, well, the goal is a reward, is enough of a reward. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. When we're talking about trips, or sometimes we're talking about buying special items, yes, in many cases, that is the reward itself. But in other cases, it's not so clear. So I want you to really collect your thoughts. Oops. There we go. The goal of creating a vision board is to bring everything on it to life. And that can be a tall order. In order to help you start sorting your thoughts, consider what your goals are in the following categories. And so I'm actually going to copy these down because I think they're important enough. And when we talk about our goals, we're talking about specifically some of these goals. these categories. There we go. Things like relationships, career and finances, home, travel, health, personal growth, spirituality. I would also add in there, and in my book, it actually has 10 different categories of goals, including spiritual, parental, if you happen to be a parent, maybe it's your desire to be a parent, or maybe to be a better parent, or maybe to improve your relationship with a younger person who's in your life. Social goals, vocational goals, physical goals, avocational goals. All of these can be included in our list of where we want to go, but I think that little list that I just put on the in the chat group is a good way to get started. So interesting. Jessica's asking me, how often do I check my annual goals? So I rewrite, so this is a quarterly agenda. I rewrite my goals completely 4 times a year. So that doesn't mean that I have all new goals, but it does mean that if I have a goal that's going to take me a year to complete or more sometimes, right? I'll actually be every quarter, I'll be taking it, copying it from this book, and then putting it in the next book. Now, I don't use, when I prepare my calendar or my focus planner, I don't start the year in January, which is interesting. So I use kind of more like a rolling calendar. My birthday is in June, and when I first started using this method, I started in June. So my method is June, July, August, September, October, November, January, February, March. So my next focus planner will start on February 1st. Is that right? January, March? No, sorry. Yes, February 1st, and we'll go February, March, April. I don't know, now I'm confusing myself. Needless to say, I'm 1 month shifted from what most people would be. Most people would start January, February, March, and I'm 1 month back. Yeah, I'm 1 month back. So when I'm transferring the information, I'm looking at what did I achieve, making any adjustments. Maybe my motivations have changed a little bit. Maybe my next steps are different, right? But I'm looking at 4 times a year, and that's helping me to keep on track. And if I see that I'm really not getting to where I want to with a goal, that's a good time for me to correct and maybe look at the goal and say, okay, is this a good goal for me? Or maybe I need to tweak this goal in some way to either make it doable, or I have to push harder to take more steps to do with the goal, or I have to reevaluate. And yes, it's okay sometimes to take a goal completely off your list. Something that you thought you could do. Look, I had goals in my planner when COVID started that had to just go away because there was no way that I could do them. And there's still goals that I'd like to have in the future that right now are not possible, but will they become possible one day? I believe that they will. And so in the meantime, I'm working on other things. I want to keep having that sense of achievement, that sense of satisfaction, and keep working for that. I hope I live a really long and healthy life. That's what my dream, that's one of my goals, I would say. And I'm working towards that every day. We never want to just give up and say, okay, well, I'm done. Okay, let's keep going because we've got a lot of things that we want to still talk about. Whoops. There we go. There's something called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, also known as the frequency illusion. This is interesting. It's a type of cognitive bias your mind creates to confirm whatever information you believe as truth. Once you create a space for what you want to believe, your brain will start looking for those things in the world around you, drawing it in toward you and making it a reality. In other words, what you focus on expands. Now, I know we've all had that experience. We've looked, it's sort of like essential oils, right? Before you heard about essential oils, you never saw them, you never heard about them, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere and everyone's talking about them. That's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Okay, I've got another combo for you. This one looks like it's just for children, but I'd like to suggest that you could use it yourself. You can use a combination of calmer and tamer. Why tamer? Very often when we're trying to achieve something, we're working hard towards something, it hits us right in our gut, right in our stomach. That feeling of butterflies or tension can go right into the stomach. Sometimes we feel it in our neck or in our chest. Very often it goes right into our stomach. So calmer and tamer. Can our nerves hit us in the stomach? Absolutely. And you want to use your oils. Again, the message is using your oils in pairs and groups to vault yourself into the new year. Okay, now when we're talking about a vision board, we're talking about finally bringing it to life. Before you start to construct your board, you want to take some time to consider what general message you want your board to convey. For example, when you look at your board, would you like to feel happy, calm, inspired, energized? You've got to kind of identify what it is that you want to convey when you look at that board. I remember putting things like beautiful dresses, beautiful clothes on the board when I first did one years and years ago. And now I have that board somewhere in the closet or something. And I remember taking a look at it and thinking, wow, that's kind of neat. A lot of those things came true, even though maybe I didn't have that specific dress that I had put on that board. There were other things that came true in a very similar way. And it's amazing how vision boards can help help us to feel a sense of gratitude, especially when the things on there begin to come through. A pro tip is taking a few moments to think about what emotions you want your board to convey. Okay, what's your vision board style? Right? So you can have a little bit of clutter or a lot of clutter. It can be very sparse. It can be very wordy. For me, a book works great at this point of my life. But if you are a creative person and you want to maybe draw something or paint something, you want to use what kind of aesthetic do you want? I have been to vision board parties where people will have magazines and you can cut out photographs. You can use words. You can print out words from the computer. You can use images from the computer, whatever it is that's going to motivate you. And then you can also think about one board or many. So the size of your board can be a big deal. I have heard of people making bigger boards and then taking a photograph of it and maybe keeping it in their phone as the background for their phone, or even printing out a little sort of 3x5 card and carrying that around with them, folding it up in their wallet, or keeping them in their purse or their pocket where they can see it on a regular basis. You could have different boards for different things. I like one board. I feel like you're one person with one life, and you really, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You could make multiple ones, doesn't matter. But you want to maybe create a board for one specific event, like a wedding or a big move or a job offer, right? So that would be an example of creating a separate board. Keep in mind factors like space, of course, surrounding your decor. You don't want to have a board that's so big that you say, oh my gosh, this giant thing, and now what am I going to be doing with it? Okay, we've got another, oops, there we go. When you're vision boarding, let's take a minute and blend. Now, these are 3 singles, it is true. Some lime, some ginger, and some lemon. While you're working on your board, maybe you put it in your diffuser, or you make yourself a roll-on and you roll it on. I think the combination of the ginger, which is kind of sharp and got a lot of punch, and your citrus oils are going to help you to just get on to the next level, and also finish that board, because sometimes we start things and we don't finish them. Or make sure you're finishing your board. So last but not least, we're going to gather our materials: magazine cutouts, quotes or images. Maybe you're using something from Pinterest, photographs that you yourself have taken, maybe pages of a book, a brochure, whatever it is. And then finally, you're going to need things like a board, maybe foam cord or some kind of cardboard, some adhesives, embellishments, whatever you want to make it your own. Super important. It's got to be for you and you alone. Now, could you make a vision board perhaps, and then take a photograph of it and then glue the image into the front? Or could you make the whole front of your book a vision board? Absolutely. Now that I'm thinking about that, that's kind of an interesting idea. I use the outside of my book as motivation sometimes. I'll visit a place and I'll think I want to come back here. So I'll put it on the outside, a sticker. Usually I use stickers and put them on the outside. You can see I've got a Texas sticker right there on the outside of because that's a place that I want to go back to very, very soon, honestly, as soon as possible. You want to set up your space, right? So that you're creating the time to do this properly. You don't want to be rushing. You can diffuse an oil while you're doing it. So we're just use that blend and then get maybe a cup of tea. So you're getting into the mood, thinking. Now, the words or phrases that you're going to use should be action words, should be words that inspire you, words like joyful, powerful, fearless, strong, financially free. We never want to use words that are negative or are going to have double meanings, right? We want to make sure that we are using words that are powerful and only powerful words. Make the list, make it a real list with things like, and I'm going to add this into the chat, thoughts, feelings, emotions, choices, personal actions that you're going to be taking. There we go. Got that into the chat for us. And then finally, updating your board. Same thing with your planner. You're going to be working on it. I would say quarterly. We want to be looking at this every quarter and looking at, okay, is it still valid for me? Have I achieved something? Maybe you just need to glue something right on top. Now, I've got a book for you, and this is actually going to be our giveaway today, The Vision-Driven Leader, 10 questions to focus your efforts, energize your team, and scale your business. And the questions are, where do you see yourself in the future? And I will tell you, without a vision board, without goals written down, without a clear vision for yourself, for your team, for your family, it's very difficult for us to know what direction are we moving into. Now, I know some of you on here are probably thinking, I've never done a vision board and I'm not about to do one now. And I've never set up a planner and I'm not about to do it now. I've got it all here in my head. And honestly, if that works for you, that's okay. I have to tell you, that's my husband. He's not a guy who has a written out plan, but I know in his head, he's got a written out plan, or maybe he's got secret plans. I think he's got secret plans. What can I say? He's a wonderful man, and he absolutely is super focused on his goals and his dreams and his aspirations, but he's not the type to sit down with paper and pencil or maybe with some photographs and glue them all together. But for many of you, I know that's going to be a way for you to de-stress and focus. And for me, the vision board or the planning book are both terrific ways. So for 2 lucky people today are going to win the Vision Driven Leader. The books are here in New Jersey and they have to be sent to Singapore. So just hang on, but they're going to be coming. We just sent out another whole load of prizes and things, a little bit behind since the Christmas holidays, but we're getting back on track. So everything should be going out in the next couple of days. You want to place your vision board in sight where you're going to be able to see it on a regular basis. Same thing with your planner. You got to be carrying that planner all the time. I remember a story about my daughter. My daughter is a young working woman, but when she first started using her planner, she uses the same one that I do. She went to a supermarket and she had her purse and the planner. And when she walked out of the supermarket, she took her purse and left her planner behind. And when she got, I think, as far as her car, maybe even further, she realized she left it behind and went running back to the supermarket. And thankfully somebody had turned it in, but she realized in that moment how important it was and how much information was in there. It was like, as she said, her whole life. I like the idea of handwriting things down. I know many of you keep an agenda or you keep calendars on your phone. I am no different. I also do the same, but I think it's important for us to reinforce that information with handwriting and using those small motor muscles to reinforce the idea of what it is we're working towards, which is why using scissors or using a pen can be very powerful. And the daily action of writing. Don't lose the habit of writing, folks. I know some of us have said, I don't even have to teach my kids writing. They can just use computers from now on. Not true. And there is a mental connection, an emotional connection to writing things out. So this class was put together for you from the following sources. I hope that these are all still good. In addition to the essential oil recommendations, there are some blogs and some other posts that might help you go back and double check some of the things that I've said. Thank you everyone for having been here. I love getting this time to just chat with you. And I hope you learned some valuable lessons about setting goals, about having a vision and keeping that right in front of you and making sure that you're working towards those goals each and every day. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and take a minute now to subscribe, if you will. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, we're always so enthusiastic, and really I'm so grateful that you are all subscribing and enjoying this content. There are hundreds of videos on here, that both short and long, and they're all categorized so you can kind of search around and look for whatever topic that you need, and we're updating our content every single week. So wherever you may be in the world, we're happy that you're here. Remember, you are amazing, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you so much for having been here. We are in our end of this season and starting a new season, which is kind of that new year. Don't ever feel like, if I haven't done my vision board yet, or I haven't set my goals yet, I'm too late, I'm too old, I don't have the time, I'm too young to do this. You're never too old or too young. Just start. Even if you get 3 things on that piece of paper, 3 things that you've been dreaming about, I think it's going to set you up in good stead. And now's the time to start dreaming. We've been putting our dreams, in many cases, and our goals on hold for a long time. And I want to encourage you to go back to that and really feel, okay, this is my time. I'm not going to let it go. Mary says she agrees that we must write things down. And Ong Lee says, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I have heard from some wonderful comments in the chat. Thank you so much for having been here this week. If you are live, please stay on. We're going to be giving away our gifts. If you are joining us via YouTube, thanks for being here. Leave a comment below. Consider subscribing and being on here with us live in the future if you haven't been able to make it yet. And have a wonderful week. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye now.